teenagers. It's like everybody had that FOMO. Everybody was like, yo, did you hear? They don't want to miss out and blah, blah, blah. And I think as you get older and you get into your adulthood, you get into your groove, you get into learning more about who you are and what you need as an individual, then that gets eliminated. The FOMO gets dropped. But yes, there are some people as adults, they're still FOMOing out here. I don't even know if that's a word. I probably just made that.
Well, we're gonna put it in the dictionary today. Unfilteredlimin dictionary. They're FOMOing out here.
They're FOMOing out here.
Let's start our own.
Sakbase. Welcome to the Unfiltered Liming podcast. Join us as we reflect on our personal journeys and share our insights, experiences, and stories. From food to music, language to customs, we explore what it means to straddle two cultures and find a sense of belonging in both. Whether you're a first-generation Caribbean American, a seasoned veteran, or simply curious about the rich tapestry of cultures that make up the Caribbean diaspora, this podcast is for you. We are your hosts, Bertide, the Haitian sensation.
Lisa, the Dominica diva.
No one's talking, so let's get unfiltered.
What up, B?
Yay! What up, L?
What up, what up? Let's go.
Hey, everybody. What is happening, people? We here.
All right,
we're live.
Here. Yes. All right.
In this episode,
I know, right? So we are back, and in this episode, we're going to be talking about discovering your inner stillness in a chaotic world. Namaste. Oh, we're not done yet. We don't say that yet. Okay. All right. All right.
Yes. What does that mean? What does that mean? Again, this season, it's all about what's next. So one of the main things that, realize and a lot of things coming at us is there's so much digital stuff coming our way. How do we detox from that? You know what I mean? That's a very valid question, right, Elle?
Mm-hmm.
So we wanted to talk a little bit about, how to find that inner self stillness and what works for us and what works for you. And then we're going to put a perspective again on Caribbean versus our American, which one of our, culture helps us balance between this digital, world. So one of the things, again, is digital detox. And what that means is sometimes I would speak for me. Sometimes there's so much, like there's days I could spend 2 hours on Instagram, on whatever else media outlet and things. And then there's days I'm like, I'm over it. I don't want to look at it, the news, whatever. So how do I detox from that? How do you balance the detox of the information? Because information is good, but a little bit too much of it, right, can be a little bit harmful because then you're letting that consume you and it becomes like the noise, right? And that's all you want to hear. Like you don't feel like, I feel like when you're just so sucked into it, sometimes it's hard to detach and break away from, you know what I mean, the regular things that you see, and it's hard for you to balance because like I said, sometimes it's like, I'm like, oh, I'm only going to check and laugh these little things. And it's like, you look, and it's like 2 hours later.
2 hours later.
2 hours.
I am not going to lie. During our break, I didn't even feel like looking at social media. I'll be honest with you.
No.
I was
Really?
like, I didn't feel like it. I just didn't. I know our DLiminCrew was probably wondering where we were, but the reality is we needed a break. Despite everything else that was going on, I think we needed a break. And sometimes that digital detox, it's just, oh my God. Imagine if we had that growing up. I actually feel a little sorry for these kids that are growing up. Granted, I think they're going to be way more advanced than we were at that age, at a younger age.
Right.
However, I just feel like the little things like going outside and play, going outside and meeting new friends, and just being outside and just running around and burning that energy. And Oof.
So you have to balance, and I think, like you said, you had to take regular breaks from realizing. And then the good thing about it is that I like is that your phone will let you know each week how much your screen time has gone up, down, and keeps you. So I think
I
that's
noticed that.
another thing. I think, yeah, society has realized like, oh, and it's giving you a little bit of tools to help you recognize like, okay, if this week your screen time has gone up by 4 hours, then maybe, you know what I mean? You just look at it and say, okay, I spent this much time. And I think that's a tool to use to kind of like balance, right?
Hmm.
And have that declutter and keep you, and if it's 10 hours for whatever reason that I just, yeah, detox digital stuff, because then let your mind just have that stillness and that clarity that it needs, because too much
Hmm.
information, just like
It's
anything
not good.
else,
Yes.
is not.
Too much of
And then
anything is
and
not
that
good.
yes. And how do you do that? Elle, tell the people how they're able to do that.
What, to the digital detox? Oh,
Mhm.
well, for me, what I like to do, like you mentioned, putting the phone down, just putting the phone down. But I
Mhm.
think also too is going out for walks. I try to walk every
Mhm.
single day. And yes, I'll have my phone on me, but I will not be looking at the phone and walking because I just feel like that's
Mhm.
just defeating the purpose. You know what I mean? Pay
Right.
attention, be present, check your surroundings. You know what I mean? I just think you need that mental break. You
Mhm.
need that mental and screen time break, which leads us into the next thing is setting boundaries.
Mhm.
Because that kind of ties into that too, because you're actually setting
Mhm.
boundaries with yourself and social
Mhm.
media, but then also too, how do you set boundaries in life? You know what I mean?
Right.
Explore the
Right.
importance. We need to explore the importance of doing that emotionally and mentally, right? We also got
Mhm.
to receive the clues if people set
Mhm.
boundaries for you.
Mhm.
Mm. What is that they
It's a
call
good
that?
one.
What, yeah, what is they got
It's
a
a good
word for
one.
that. I don't remember what it is, but it's like you got to pay attention to the clues. People
Mhm.
might not be direct and say, "Hey, I need to set some boundaries.
Mhm.
I need you to go take a seat." Or like we said in the other season,
Mhm.
you might get benched
Bench.
or whatever. But I just think that sometimes it's good to take a mental and emotional and set boundaries for yourself and for other people.
Mhm.
Okay. And part of picking up on clues is that sometimes if people give you clues that they want a little
Mhm.
space, don't take it personal because a lot of times
Mhm.
everybody we're all going through stuff and it
Right.
actually might behoove you to take those
Mhm.
clues and maybe you need to do that for yourself as well.
Right.
Because,
Right.
and listen, something I learned in the pandemic also too is respecting
Mhm.
boundaries. When
Mhm.
people send you the boundaries clues, we're gonna leave that right there. I'm just saying.
Like it.
What?
Absolutely agree. I
Yeah.
absolutely agree that you should
Mm-hmm.
set boundaries for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
set boundaries for everything, but that goes back to giving yourself, what is it, that space to be able to be okay with setting boundaries. Because I think a lot of times we feel guilty as people,
Mm-hmm.
mothers, siblings or whatever, in setting boundaries. Like, I want time for myself. And sometimes, like, I know some people feel like, oh, am I being selfish, you know what I mean, if I
Mm-hmm.
set those boundaries for myself? So sometimes it's hard, but at the same time, if you're not setting the boundaries for yourself, then you're no good to anybody, because then you blow
Nope.
up, you get irritated, you get frustrated anyways. So
Mm-hmm.
the boundaries is, there's healthy ways to set boundaries, I
Mm-hmm.
believe. And I'm still learning with certain things to set boundaries, because I used to be like, and I would tell myself, but my sometimes like I allow too many things sometimes to get in my space. And then when I'm overwhelmed, I just shut down. You know what I mean? And that's
Mm-hmm.
not always the healthier way,
Mm-hmm.
and setting boundaries. But I know like that's one thing, like I want to give, I want to make sure like people around me are good. But then at the same time, I don't know what it is, but I've always been like I could take or leave it. I could take being in the crowd, but then at the same time, I could go in a corner and sit by myself and be quite okay. And I realized that I just have to have a balance, and I have to
Mm-hmm.
communicate that to
Mm-hmm.
people a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times. So I've become better at, hey, I need my space.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still learning, but then telling people, because you have to give the clues and also receive the clues. But I think there's a healthy way to give the clues to certain people. So that way it doesn't seem like, oh, well, what's going on and things like that. So I think when you're setting your boundaries, know who and how you're setting the boundaries, and also do it in a space that's healthy for you. And some people are not going to respect your boundaries.
No, they're not, but you
I
got to set them. You have to.
Yes,
Yeah.
because we talk about that in our Caribbean. Like I think in a previous episode, we talked about like with our parents. Like I know I had to set boundaries with my mom with certain things, and it wasn't easy. And they're gonna push those boundaries, but you have to be able to be like, whoa, 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 whoa. They're gonna try it. They're gonna try it, just like kids. They're gonna
Well,
try it.
yeah. Speaking about that also too, it's funny how some people give you the clues like they want boundaries and then you respect the boundaries
Mm-hmm.
and then you go way, way back. And then
Mm-hmm.
when they need something, they're like, well, I don't understand why you not
Mm-hmm.
nah, nah. You you gave me the boundaries, so now I'm
Yeah.
respecting the boundaries. And now you over here like, well, I don't understand why you're not around or you're not doing this or you're not doing that.
Yes.
Yo, you asked for the boundaries, so I'm respecting the boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Did you
But
not
then if
realize?
you're bound, yeah, but the thing is, your boundaries sometimes could change because just as we evolve as people, 'cause we talk about this all the time, right? We evolve. So if you set boundaries for certain people and for certain, because imagine like COVID, right?
Mm-hmm.
COVID helped us see differently and you had new sets of boundaries. So I think like with when you grow, you need to, not every boundary is going to be the same all the time. So the thing is, again, like Lisa was saying, if you set, like, let's say you and I set a boundary for this particular season that I'm in, but then the next season I transition, right? Again, what's next? So we transition. There has to be some type of like, oh, this boundary may no longer fit the season that we're in, right? This
Mm-hmm.
stillness or whatever, what comes next. And I
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of times that's the whole basis of the season that we're doing is what's next. It's like what like unfiltered liming was, it's moving to a new thing. So we have new sets of boundary, new sets of goal, new sets of what's coming up next. So I think your boundaries also should take that evolving period in my personal
Yeah.
discussion. So if you did set boundaries for certain people and you feel like, okay, we're at a new season, because I think with friendships, your friendships sometimes go up and down, right? Or relationships go up and down with people, and then you're discovering yourself, you evolving, and the person is. So sometimes it's not anything personal, but there's just like that friction for a period of time. You set boundaries, and then once you evolve to a different stage, you could revisit like, okay, where we are as friends, where we are in our relationship and things like that. And if you could be like, okay, those boundaries actually no longer apply, so we're going to set new ones, right? Because that's what life is about. And then there's
Mm-hmm.
some boundaries, it's nailed to the coffin. I'm just saying it's nailed to the coffin. We ain't going back. we
Ooh,
are not
yeah, that is
we are
true.
not collecting $200. I don't care how you feel. For my
Ooh.
peace of mind, it's good, because some people will manipulate your
Oh
boundaries to
my
make you
God.
feel
Let's not, let's
guilty.
talk about it. Talk about
Let's
it.
go ahead, Lisa. Go ahead,
Talk
cause
about
go
it.
ahead.
No,
They
I'm
will.
just saying the manipulation of boundaries, that's a whole nother other thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's all right. I
Make
learned
you
my
feel
lesson.
guilty.
I'm good on it. So let me ask you this, B. Where are you
Mhm.
now on the level of the nailing of the coffin, setting your boundaries? Is the nails all the way in, or are they just at the tip? Uh,
So every situation is different, but there are certain nails when it's deep down, you 6 feet underground, I'm letting you know, because the thing about it is, before I got to that point, there was several conversation, right, about that bounce. There's been several. Like when I get to the nail in the coffin, it should be no surprise. If it's a surprise, then it's your own damn fault. It is not my fault because I've given you the clues and you ain't take the clues. So once it's nail, for me, it's done.
That's true.
It's
That's
over
true.
because it no longer serves for what. And again, you have to know yourself. And again, goes with this discovering your inner stillness of what works for you, what works for your
Yeah,
energy, and
that's
what,
true.
because some people, unfortunately, they are who they are. People
Mhm.
that tell you that, oh, love me for who I am, and you got to be like, accept it for what it is. And you got to be like, okay, well, this no longer serves me. So if you're not going to at least meet me halfway, then that means that no matter what happens in life, this person is already telling you, I am who I am. You got to make the choice to decide you are who you are. Okay, love you from a distance, but that's a boundary, like, because you can't change anybody. You could only change
No, you
yourself. You
can't.
could only,
Yeah,
you understand what I'm saying?
you have to
So I
adjust
think for
yourself.
me,
You have to adjust
Yes.
yourself.
So I think
Yeah.
that's where sometimes a lot of times with our family, like I will use my Caribbean culture, they sometimes we have a hard time because our family can make us feel guilty
Hmm.
for stepping away. You know what I'm saying? For certain boundaries, like, oh well, we family and you should be able to accept whatever and you should be able to carry whatever. Let me tell y'all, no, I'm not that one. I'm not that family member. I'm not that one. If it does not serve my energy well, if it puts me in a mental space that is not positive for me, I'm gonna let y'all know. Don't collect $200. Don't come to my door. Y'all gonna get your feelings hurt.
Don't come
Just
to
saying.
B's door. Okay, so moving on. The other setting boundaries is setting limits for work related communications outside the office, creating designated space. So let's talk about work. Do you set boundaries for work?
Yes,
Okay.
I do because so Lisa
You
put you
said
on
you
the
do.
spot.
What?
I
No,
do. I do.
you don't have to answer it. I'm just saying.
I do, but I feel like I need to answer because I think we spend more time at work, and I think work sometimes those boundaries can be a little bit. So for me, I set boundaries because I give people 3 to 6 months to get to know who they are, right? And that's just me. It's nothing. It's just I feel like you never really know people, so
Mhm.
that time frame gives me a chance to know, okay, are you gonna be fake as hell? Or are you really like the person you say that you are? Or what's your character? So for me, that's my boundary. 3 to 6 months. Don't get your feelings hurt. It's nothing personal. And if you do it to me, I'm okay with that. But just because we work together doesn't mean I know you. So I'm not sharing a lot of stuff with you 3 to 6 months because I don't know if you're
Mhm.
behind, you just gossiping. You don't really care about me. You just want to know about business. And then you sitting at the lunch table and you just talking about all my damn business. So you don't really, you're not praying for me. You're not caring. I'm just, I've had this happen. I've seen this happen to people where they're like they hang out with people and all this other stuff, and me, a bystander, I don't ask for the information and it's giving to me, but you're supposed to be friends
Yes.
with this person. So for
Yes.
me, that's my boundary. I'm gonna give you 3 to 6 months, but don't get your feelings hurt because I'm not sharing a lot of stuff with you because I just don't trust. Again, that's me, unfiltered, DLiminCrew. I'm just letting you know. It takes a lot to become in my circle, so I'm only sharing what I want you to know. It's
Okay,
gonna
fair
be
enough.
real.
Fair enough. I think
What about you?
for me, setting work boundaries is I had to learn to do that because I find when you move up in leadership roles and if you work for a company that provides you a company phone, they
Mm,
feel as though they have now access to you 24/7.
yes.
It was cute in the beginning, but no, we got to set boundaries because for mentally that serves me no good because what I
Mhm.
was finding, like I would go to sleep at night and it's like I gotta make sure the volume's up because I gotta make sure if something happens or if I gotta make sure
Mhm.
and you're really not getting a sound sleep.
You're
And
not.
now you're stressed out and just for what and now you feel like you're like this ball and chain. Like,
Mhm.
okay, what should I do? Should I go take a shower? But I might not because the phone might
Mhm.
ring.
Yeah.
Something might pop off and you always feel I can't take a vacation. Should I go on vacation? Something might pop off. Maybe I shouldn't take a vacation. Oh, should I go take some downtime to go hang out in the I don't know, go hang out with some friends at the club? Well, maybe not because
Mhm.
something might pop off. So what that does at that point, that now that lack of boundaries has now
Mhm.
emotionally and mentally I am now
Mhm.
distraught, right?
Mhm.
So what now you have disrupted me mentally and emotionally and
Mhm.
and there's no boundary set so that does me no good. So,
Yes.
moving
Because you're not.
forward,
You're not. Yeah. You're
yeah.
not able to be your best.
No,
I
not at
always say
all.
for
And not
those kind
your
of.
best and not yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But your best is yourself. So yeah, you want to be able. But the other thing too with that with work when you are in leadership role, I always move. So again, I always move how my higher ups move. If my ups don't answer the phone, I'm not answering the phone. Follow through what my higher ups do. Here now, if they're not stressing themselves, I'm gonna do what I can do. But the extra, like sometimes like these where you get to the point, and we've all done it in our career because we want to show, like, you know what I'm saying, we're dedicated and all of that. But I learned like I'm going to be as dedicated to make sure that I'm healthy for myself, because that's what they do. If they need to take a vacation, they'll go on vacation. If they need to do whatever you're higher up, how they move. They ain't worrying about, because again, they're trusting that they hired you to do the job that you're meant to do. So I'm gonna sleep well, because then if not, then you're the wrong person and we just need to get the right person. I should not feel that way. I've learned that you hire people, and if you feel that way, then that means that the wrong people are in the place that they need to be. Because I should be able to go to sleep at night and all this other stuff. And I learned that just from watching, again, higher ups, you know what I mean, like VPs, and see how they move, and then asking them the questions and things like that, because we all have been there. And that's what they say. They trust the people, and if they don't, that's why they
Mhm. Well,
on to the next.
I feel like those that live in the Caribbean definitely set boundaries because they shut down at a certain time. They take their time to get whatever. If
Mhm,
you need something,
mhm.
Irie, I'm
The
gonna just
best
take.
thing is, yes, the best thing with Caribbean people, and I would say Caribbean people, Latin people, just any culture, they work and they save their vacation. Because
Mhm.
summertime or whatever time they tell their bosses, I'm taking a month, there's no question that they
Nope.
are going for
I
whatever. I know in the
you
Caribbean,
ain't never
during the
lied. You ain't
girl,
never lied.
during the holiday, like for Haitians, summertime or during Carnival time or Christmas time, because it's a big thing,
Mhm.
they go and they will spend a month. They work their little bones, they learn their fingers to the bone, and then when they got those 2 weeks or whatever amount of time that they saved
Or a
up,
month. Mhm.
please tell them they can't go, and see how fast they're gonna leave that job and go somewhere else. Please tell
Exactly.
a Caribbean or a Latin
Yes.
person they done work this month.
Yes.
They can't take their month to go back to their. And again, it goes back to they're setting boundaries for themselves, but they
They are.
also are giving themselves that inner stillness, because it's their time to refresh and to reconnect. So it
Mhm.
helps them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
moving on. Mm.
Yes. And then so, and that you're simplifying, right? And
Yeah.
you're decluttering, right?
Mhm.
So in a way, when you do set the boundaries, when you do detox, then
Mhm.
you need to simplify it for yourself, right?
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
need to not only like talk about it, but physically. I think sometimes, like Lisa is saying, taking the walks, right, for your physical, and not only your mental but your physical also plays a part in it.
Mhm.
So like the tips, like you were saying, taking walks. What's another one? Like exercising. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? It's taking the time to exercise. And especially like at work, I feel like certain places that I work, I love them better than most, because sometimes we can feel tied to our desk. So for work, get up and take walks. If you're able to have a stand-up desk for your physical well-being, do that. Like
Mhm.
that's simple. Those are simple little things that you could do to kind of like detox from all that. And then, you know what I mean? And standing up is good for you, because if you don't, you're sitting all day in a chair, your health, your physical is being, affected by that. So I would say, yeah, if you're able to 5 minutes, look, I don't smoke, but I take smokers break.
Listen, listen. That shit I will never understand. Do you ever notice smokers? They will always take their smoker's break. But the ones that don't smoke
Right.
will be chained to the desk the whole entire day. Nobody says anything to the smokers, and
Nope.
nobody says anything to the person that's chained at the desk. They're not like, hey, you need to take a walk. And they don't say to the
Mhm,
smokers, hey, you need to stop smoking. You
mhm.
notice?
Yes. That's what I be telling people. They be like, "Oh, I'm a smoker. I'm not a smoker, but I be taking it because they be going out there. You know how on your watch it tells you it's time to stand up?
Hmm. They probably on their watch says time to smoke a cigarette.
Every hour or 2 hours, the number of times that they go, they probably work like an 8-hour shift. I feel like they work 4 or
Six.
5 hours.
Yeah, 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they be so for me, like when I need to take my walk, I take my walk, because at the end of the day, for your peace of mind. But the good thing too, for work, simplifying, I like how ever since COVID happened, a lot of corporation have instituted mental day. And I know that there's
Yes, they
people that have
have.
used that. You understand what I mean?
Yes,
Like
they have. Hmm.
I guess again, those are also tips and tools that corporation have learned and
Hmm.
have adapted to. So for me and other individuals, like if you wake up and you are like in a space where you can't go to work, or you're at work and it's not, you're not, you could tell your bosses, they should not tell you you can't take it. You can say you need a mental day. I've seen people use it. And
Yeah.
there's times when I wake up and I'm like, okay, I'm sick or whatever the reason is, and you just need a day to recuperate or from whatever. It doesn't have to be work related. It could just be stuff that's going on with yourself, personal stuff and stuff like that, and you can't deal with all the things that's coming at work.
Hmm.
Take a mental day.
Yeah.
Take that. That's what, what I mean? Like
Not
things that
all
happen in.
organizations recognize that, but majority they're getting better at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Or you could
if
just
that's the
tell them, look at
case,
here. No,
take a
let me not
PTO
say
day.
that on camera.
No, take a
I was gonna
PTO.
say, be like, yo, if y'all don't give me this mental day, I'll be.
Nah, don't say that. Don't, just stop right there. Before we get kicked off of here, before we even start,
I know.
let's not say
But
that.
yes, for organizations
But
that don't recognize that, but
then take
I
a
would have to
PTO.
say,
Just take a PTO.
yeah,
Hmm.
if you have it, because some people, if you're just starting out, but the other thing too is Caribbean folks don't do that. They don't. I don't
No.
believe that
No,
they
they
go through
don't.
a lot. Yeah, they go through a lot, but I don't think that they simplify or declutter. I think they prioritize and
Hmm.
what did they call it? When you're compartmentalize,
Oh shoot, you just messed me up. You messed me up.
whatever. Y'all know what it
I know what you're
is.
talking
Y'all.
about, compartmentalize.
Yes, there you go.
Hmm.
Somebody put the right thing, put the right word. Y'all know, not sensitive to this stuff. So y'all help me speak good English for y'all. Um, so yeah,
Oh
I
my
think they're able to put those little things, those filing, right? They file like, okay, their emotions, they file it to get the work done. And I don't think mentally like they really tap into it. So if they're having a moment,
God. Hmm.
I don't think that they focus on it. I think they just, oh, I need to get this done because I need to pay my bills, or I have families
Hmm.
counting on me, or things like that. So I
Hmm.
think that's one of the ways that they just, you know, and they're physical people too. So they're very active physical people. I don't
Yes.
know if physical in the sense of they work, but I don't know if they take the time to actually like maybe take walks and things like that. I know on the island
I
they
see a lot
do.
of Asians when they get to retirement age, they don't hesitate. They get their walks in.
Indians too. Indians,
Oh
I've
yes,
seen a
yes, yes,
lot.
that's true. I do see a lot. That is true. Yeah,
Hmm.
that is very true.
Yeah. On the
Yeah, but
island though, I know like island people, they make it a point during summertime, the beaches, they're at the
mhm.
beach. That's one activity that I know that they do. But in the island, I feel like it's different because they walk more, right?
Mhm.
I
They
feel like
walk
they're a
everywhere.
lot more, yeah, they're a lot more, unless they have to go long distance, but they
Mhm.
walk a little bit more. So maybe that's why it's different that they're able to walk and be out in the sun and enjoy
Mhm.
like the nature of being on an island. So
Mhm.
maybe that's where in the States I feel like it's different. And then
Mhm.
the other thing too, when you're walking, you're seeing a lot of your family members. So you're having conversation, you're
Mhm.
smiling, you're laughing, you're joking. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
and I
exactly.
would say coming to the States is different
Mhm.
because you're just all about work, work, work.
Yeah,
So
that is true.
maybe so we just
Work,
gotta
work,
find,
work, work, work.
yeah, we got
Mm.
to find a way to simplify it for ourselves, I
Yeah,
guess.
and
Yeah.
declutter. But also
Yes.
too, the next thing is mindful consumption, right? We also
Mm.
have to be mindful of
Mhm.
the excessive. I mean, we also touched on, stopping. We touched on having too much social media, but we also have to be
Mhm.
mindful on what we consume into our mental, right?
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
We have to take responsibility and
Mhm.
to do our best with consuming positive reinforcement,
Mhm.
things that we can learn something new, a new skill, or
Mhm.
a new trade, something that educate yourself.
Mhm.
Those things you have to be mindful about, mindful consumption, right?
Mhm.
What you're
Right.
consuming in your brain,
Mhm.
and then just try to do things that listen to things that nurture your soul,
Mhm.
make you happy,
Yeah.
make you feel at peace, right?
Yeah.
For
I agree.
example, yeah, for example, what I like to do a lot of times before I go to bed is it's on YouTube, but I don't have to look at it. I'll turn YouTube on and I listen to sound baths,
Mhm.
right? So sometimes that relaxing, it allows you just to
Mhm.
relax at night before you go to sleep. So you're not going to sleep with a lot of things on your mind. And
Mhm.
also to just the sounds and no words,
Mhm.
that's also healthy for you too. Because
Mhm.
I actually, let me tell you something. So what's that TV show? The crime show, um, not Law and Order. It's not Law and Order.
Order.
Oh, that is Law and Order. Okay.
Mhm.
SVU unit or whatever,
Mhm.
SVU and stuff
Yes.
like that.
Yes.
And
Yes.
those criminal shows, I used to love to watch that and watch it before I
Mhm.
go to bed, right? And then
Oh
after
no.
what, girl, I was that person that would fall asleep to that, right? And then, yeah, and I always found out the next morning I would wake up disgruntled, or either
Mhm.
disgruntled or
Mhm.
irritated or just
Mhm.
angry at the world. And I was like, wait a minute. One day I was like, wait a minute. We're
Mhm.
going to try something for a week. I am not going to watch this for a whole week.
Mhm.
And I found that I woke up more peaceful. So that's how I
Mhm.
learned, and again, everything is trial and error. We all got to find out what works for
Mhm.
us, and you have to find out what works for you. So I found
Mhm.
that that did not, as much as I love the show, you know what I mean, catching the criminals, but that does not serve me
You go
going
to
to sleep
sleep.
because I'm running in my sleep and trying to catch criminals in my sleep. Okay. So we had to switch to the sound bath, which is,
Yeah.
relaxing tones, namaste. And yeah, so that's what I do. That's what helps me. And that's an
Yeah.
example of mindful consumption.
Yeah. I
V,
agree. Cause
do you have
yeah,
any mindful
I
consumptions you would
agree.
like to share with the people? It's like,
I agree completely. And I have to second what Lisa just said because I used to have somebody, we used to live together, a past ex, and he used to
you said
love
somebody.
me.
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry. I used to have a
Uh,
person, a somebody.
they used
Sorry.
to like watching the news before we went to bed.
Can't do that.
And sorry, let me say this. I'm not saying don't watch the news, but if you already watch the 6 o'clock news, we don't need to be watching it at 11 o'clock before we go to bed because it's the same shenanigan. Somebody killing somebody, somebody robbing somebody, politics. What else? Sometimes they have some good news, but most of the time it's the same stuff. So for me,
But
I didn't
isn't the 11
understand.
o'clock the same as the 6 o'clock and the 8 o'clock?
That's what I said.
Oh,
So
okay.
if you watch
Just
it at
checking.
6, there's no need for us to watch it at 11. That's my whole point. Like they ain't changing much. Nothing is changing unless something drastic is happening. It's not changing much. So I can understand you can watch it at 6 o'clock. But before we go to bed, why? So that used to be like a thing because for me, I like it to be very positive. So I agree with you. Like it does affect your psyche
Mhm.
subconsciously that you don't realize whatever you watch is what keeps playing over in your mind. So if you constantly watching like people murdering and stuff like that, then you're thinking like any little noise. You understand what I mean? Like you're waking up and then things like that. But then everybody's different. Because like for me, I am very mindful of the consumption of what I watch. There's certain scary stuff I only watch during the day. But then my
Oh,
child,
scary movies. I
he's like,
can't.
Mom, that doesn't do nothing for me. And he doesn't. So everybody has their tolerance level, right? Like you said. So for me, there's certain things that I'm like, I'm not watching this past this time
Hmm.
because he's like, You're crazy. I like to watch either happy things or things where I know it's shenanigans. It's
I
not
like
gonna,
comedy. I like comedy movies or
yeah,
comedy shows. If it's a late night
yeah.
before I go to bed, it's gotta be
Yeah,
light.
so
It's gotta
I
be light.
I am completely mindful of certain things that I do watch. I am very mindful of that. And also I think a mindful consumption also as a parent too sometimes you're mindful because if you have kids they're different age groups so you also have to be mindful of what you're sharing with your kids so that's another thing too your responsibility of okay what am I watching it might not be age appropriate for your child, right? Because then you're not only being mindful for yourself, you're being mindful for, the people and the human beings that you're raising.
Hmm.
And also it helps in the information, like Lisa said, that you're giving to your household. Like I like my household to be very peaceful, very zen. If you come into my household with shenanigans, the door will not be open because I don't have time for it.
Well, what about?
You know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
not,
some
I'm
people
not
like
trying
the
to be
drama
funny
though.
because
Some people like the drama. They like the,
so that's
oh
a
my
mindful
God.
consumption.
Yes.
That's
Yep.
being mindful of the consumption
I
of the
can't.
people also.
Yep.
It's not only like the jitters, but it's also the people. So if there's certain people that I know you're gonna bring drama to my household, you're not coming because I'm being mindful of the company that I keep. I'm being mindful of that consumption of my energy. So I
So
might love you, I may hang out with you, but there's just certain things. So I think consumption overall, you got to think about overall the people, the digital stuff, you know what I mean, what you're consuming, the healthy, the physical, you know what I mean, all of that. I think you got to be
so
you have to be mindful over it, you know
so
what I mean. And then do you think it's because people, Lisa, have a fear of overcoming the fear of missing out? Could it be what that
FOMO,
is? Is that
FOMO.
what they call it? FOMO?
Yeah. I was about
Fear
to say
of
though, you
missing out.
probably saging people when they leave the house. B's gonna sage the house after you leave. But anyway, getting back to this FOMO, yes, there's
Holy
a lot
water.
of people.
Hey,
What? What'd you say?
holy water. I'm sorry. I don't do that, folks. I don't do that because you're not welcome. I'm not opening the door. So I don't need to do that.
Okay. So yes, there's a lot of people that have FOMO. A lot. And you know what I'm gonna say?
So I experience it almost every day right now.
Okay. I was gonna say that I think it's also something that as people mature,
Mm-hmm.
they realize that they are not, they don't need FOMO, that they're
Mm-hmm.
just okay with themselves. But there's a lot of people who are not okay with themselves. Because I was gonna say that
Mm-hmm.
I feel like when we were younger,
Mm-hmm.
maybe even teenagers. It's like
Mm-hmm.
everybody had that FOMO. Everybody was like, yo, did you
Mm-hmm.
hear? They don't want to miss out and blah, blah, blah. And I think as you get older and you get into your adulthood, you get into your groove, you get into learning
Mm-hmm.
more about who you are and what you need as an
Mm-hmm.
individual, then that gets eliminated. The FOMO gets dropped. But yes, there are some people as adults, they're still FOMOing out here. I don't even know if that's a word. I probably just
Yeah. Oh,
made that
well,
up.
we're gonna put it in the dictionary today. Unfiltered Liming dictionary. They're
Oh yeah.
FOMOing out here.
They're
Here we're gonna
FOMOing
start.
out here.
We're gonna start our own.
Oh
There
my
you go.
God.
Hey, don't nobody be going and stealing our idea. Unfiltered Liming
Yes.
dictionary, because we're gonna give you the Caribbean and the American definition of stuff.
Yep.
So we got
The
the
FOMOing out
vantage
here.
point.
Yes.
Yeah, but I agree with you. I agree to some degree. Yes. I don't know if when I was younger I had that fear, because again, the first decade of my life, I was in the Caribbean. There was always people around. There was always, you understand what I mean? So for
Mhm.
me, I did not have the fear of missing out. I had the fear of too much.
Yeah,
Like, yo,
I'm agree with you with that one. I'm agree with you.
like,
Like
leave me
something that's
alone.
always going on. That's if anything, you're
Family
right.
was always like, people are always coming
Affect.
over. You never
Yes.
had time for yourself. You
Self. Nope.
always doing something in the Caribbean. Like,
Nope.
so I didn't have a fear. Whether I liked it or not, there was always something going. You were
Going on.
always part of some type of, the adults were over there, the kids were over there. So I never felt, and maybe that mentality when I came over here was, if it didn't involve me, I'm good. If it
Yeah.
did, it did. If it didn't, I could take it or leave it. But I do understand what you're saying. Like, and then some people, I feel like, again, because we're talking about information, I feel like the fear is missing out on the information. Some people just want the information for no damn reason. They
Yeah.
just want to know the
Yeah.
information. So then when
Yeah.
they're talking, it's like me and Lisa could be talking, and let's say there's a group and we're talking and they get the information, then they'll go to this other group and be like, oh my gosh, I got information. It's like the news cycle. Like,
Mhm.
information is what sells nowadays. So I feel like people just want information, but it's not really that they need it. It's just
Mhm.
they feel like that makes them who they are. Because I experienced that. And I'll give you an example, and I won't say names, but I mean, it is what it is at the end of the day. I feel like there's certain workplaces that I've gone that I feel people have insecurities, right? So, in order for them to not be insecure, then they want to feel like they have as much information about things going on to make it seem like, oh, that's who they are, right? But it's a form, I feel like I'm finding out it's a form of insecurities within themselves. Because the minute you stop giving them information, then they don't know what to do. They're
Yeah.
like scatterbrained. They're like,
Yep.
oh my gosh, what's going on? They make you
Yep.
feel like you out of place because you're not giving them information. Like they live for this information. And like Lisa said, but they don't know how to be, they don't know who they are without information. And I was like, well, what do you? Because the thing about it is, it's different if you're a therapist, right? Or you're a teacher. You're giving important information and your information is helping people, right? I
Mm-hmm,
think there's
mm-hmm.
a different kind of missing out. But if you're only trying to have this fear of missing out because you're insecure about yourself or because you're restless that you can't be by yourself, I think it's a wrong kind of fear. You understand what I'm saying? Like, but if like,
Mm-hmm.
let's say I feel like, let's say I'm going to use this example, soldiers, right? They're used to being with their family, but now they're away. They have a
Yeah.
fear of missing out. That's a legitimate fear because they can't be with their family or they can't see their
That's
children grow
legit.
up.
That's
That's
legit.
legit. You understand
That's
what I'm saying?
legit.
But if you're just having a fear of missing out just because you can't be connected to yourself or engage with
Mm-hmm.
yourself, I think that's a different one. But I think
That's different.
Caribbean folks, yeah, I think that's more the American culture.
Yeah.
I said that quietly. Sorry. That has that fear because I feel like in the Caribbean, there's so much going on. There's so much people around. There's so many. I don't think, to me, I
Yeah.
personally don't, I don't think that they have a fear of missing out. I think they
Nope.
have more of a feel like, yo,
So what
what?
is that called? What card is
I
it?
don't know. It's, I feel
If
like,
they don't have a fear of missing out, that's called JOMO.
yes. Talk about Jomo, Lisa. Do I
JOMO
think so?
JOMO is embracing the joy of missing out.
There you go.
That's
Yes.
JOMO. New
Yes.
word for y'all. Write it down. JOMO. Embracing the joy of missing out. Listen, I'm at a point in
Yes.
my life, I don't mind missing out. I'm
Yes.
actually purposely trying to miss out on certain things
Yes.
on purpose. So
Yes.
if you don't see
Because
me,
you're
you
more
don't hear from
grateful.
me, I'm JOMOing.
Yeah. Jomo, and there's another word, folks. Unfiltered dictionary. We are giving you new words all day, every day. Back next week for some more unfiltered liming dictionary words.
Yes,
But
exactly.
yeah,
So
I
that
agree.
leads us into the next thing, creating a culture of silence. Do you think that we could actually
Oh,
create a culture of silence? Do you think people really can sit in their silence? And what's the significance of that, right? First of all, I think there's a lot of people. Well, it ties back to what you
I'll put
just
my
said, right?
hand to my,
It-
I'll put my hand to my,
Oh,
because
shit.
thank
Okay, listen, we're gonna keep this short and sweet. I know it just ties back into everything that we just discussed. A
you.
lot of people cannot sit in silence. They can't sit in silence because they're insecure, they have FOMO, right? They social media, constantly being in the know. So there's are those that cannot sit in the silence. Um I think it's healthy though to at least take 10 minutes a day if you can.
Yeah.
At least start
Mhm.
off with 10 minutes a day.
Mhm.
Listen, some people I feel like the monks, they have mastered the art of
Mhm.
silence because they can do it all day long. So,
I agree.
for us out here, the Caribbeans and Americans, listen, let's try to create the culture of silence, whether that's 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day. Let's get back to us, get back to you,
Mhm.
because the
Mhm.
significance of it is going to be beneficial to your mental and emotional
Mhm.
health. And especially coming out of COVID, and I know my brother called it the COVID hangover, is that
Mhm.
a lot of people didn't do well because the silence, they couldn't take the
Mhm.
silence. So now that
Mhm.
we have experienced the silence,
Mhm.
um, that was not in our control. It was forced silence, right?
Mhm.
And now everyone is the world's back open, everyone's back out and enjoying life. Now let's find a
Mhm.
way to balance that because if you find a way to balance that, I think a lot
Mhm.
of people mentally and emotionally will be healthier,
Mhm.
you know? And it
I
also too will
agree.
create creativity, which is
Mhm.
actually nurturing to the soul as well. It will promote well-being
Hmm.
and it also too will get, by being silent for a minute too, I think also we'll be better communicators. And I think also being a better communicator is we need to stop and listen to what someone's saying in order to receive that. Okay,
Right.
I'm done preaching for today. Today was a good day. I'm done preaching for today. That's
Yes.
my.
But I agree with you. I completely agree with you. Like sitting inside. But again, it goes back to everything that ties in into what you said. A lot of times where people don't want to sit in that silence because they don't want to deal with what they've had to
Okay.
deal with. Right?
Okay.
Because when you deal with that, you're like you said, you're promoting well-being for yourself. And I
Mhm.
do understand that not everybody wants to deal, because the thing about it, to be able to sit there are gonna be shits that come out that you thought you got over with,
You
right?
say
There's
shit?
traumas, there's whatever shits,
Oh,
trauma,
shit.
whatever it is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's stuff that's gonna come out in the silence, and I think that's why people are afraid of the silence. They're
Mhm.
afraid to be able to have to deal and to come on the other side, because the silence helps you see clarity. It helps you listen and tune in. It helps you. There's a lot of things that you recognize about yourself. It helps you become accountable to
Mhm.
yourself.
Mm.
Accountable to yourself. If y'all didn't hear
Mm.
me the first time, accountable to
Listen,
yourself.
accountability is a
Um,
whole nother episode. We're not going to get into that right now because I'm hot.
but
I'm
girl,
I'm
but
coming in
that
hot with that shit. Excuse my
girl, but
French.
that
Don't. I'm sorry.
silence
I'm
helps
sorry.
you. It helps you break down like the things about, because the thing about it is, let's be honest, a lot of times people want to look outwardly, right, and
Mhm.
put everything on everybody else, right? That's why they're
Mhm.
like, they stay behind these walls. But the silence, like Lisa said, it helps you become a better communicator for yourself, a better advocate for yourself, a better person to be able to set those boundaries for yourself, a better person to be able to declutter and simplify what works for you, a better you're better able to recognize, like, hey, I've been on, I need to detox, because I spend so much time. So that silence again overall helps you. Oh, I need to take a walk, right? Because the silence will tune you back into yourself, that you'll be able to recognize, oh, my world is a little, I'm spinning out. There's a lot of things going on. Okay, let me silence. And like Lisa said, it doesn't take long. 5 minutes, first thing when you wake up out the bed, just stay in the bed for 5 minutes, silent your mind. Or throughout the day, like Lisa said, 5 minutes, you take a walk, don't be on your phone, don't look at social media. It really doesn't take that much. And then as you
Mhm.
progress, you'll be able to add the
Mhm.
minutes. And Lisa,
Mhm.
you made a very good point, because I'm going to give you a tip or a tool that I learned or read that
Mhm.
helped me become a little bit more mindful of that
Mhm.
silence. It's
Mhm.
the, and I know a lot of people know about this, but it's the Dalai
Dalai
Lama, Little
Lama.
Book of Buddhism, right?
Ah.
So this book, actually, I found this book, if y'all can see it.
Could see it. Yeah.
Boop, 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 boop. So this book, actually, I read it a while ago, and of course, everybody knows the Dalai Lama, his wisdom, and all this other stuff. But when you read it again, disclaimer: I'm not promoting Buddhism. I'm not promoting nothing that, look here now. We're not talking about religion. We're
Boy.
not talking about, I use resources from all walks, all tools, because at the end of the day, you need to be able to be open
Mhm.
to what's out there, right? So
Mhm.
this book, the reason why I'm bringing it up is because this book helps you recognize things about yourself and be able to silence yourself, because they gives you practices, and you could follow him on, he has a lot of great teaching, but that's what they're all about. The monks or infamous for silencing and decluttering and detoxing ourselves of all the outside
Mhm.
clutter, digital, and all that, to be able to sit in nature. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I I would recommend, again, going on YouTube, listening
Mhm.
to a few of his stuff. If it works for you, it works for you. If it
Mhm.
doesn't, it doesn't. If you want to go and pick up this book, go
Mhm.
ahead and do that. But that's my tip
All
that I
right.
would say. Find something that you could read, something that will help you silence,
Mhm.
and
Perfect.
practicing, you know what I mean? The how to silence, because it is hard to do until you get into the practice of doing it. So what's
Nice.
your tip and tool, Lisa? I know
You
you
just
mentioned
mentioned it. Hello. You
it.
said taking that 10-minute walk without your phone being on. And while you're on that walk, focusing on your breathing. So that is my tip for today as we're discovering the inner stillness in this chaotic world. So, anyway, DLiminCrew, thank you for joining us for another episode. Stay tuned for our next episode. In the meantime, B's going to go ahead and point to where the subscribe and listen button is. Yeah,
Peace
it's going to be
out.
a while. It's going to be a while.
Yes.
All right, DLiminCrew. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Unfiltered Liming podcast. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and gained some valuable insight. Don't forget to subscribe to the show so you can catch every new episode and leave us a review so we can continue to bring you fresh, exciting content. And if you have a topic you'd like us to discuss or a story you'd like us to share, please reach out to us. Join us again next Thursday for another unfiltered conversation about the rich diversity and complexity of the Caribbean American experience. Until then, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep celebrating the unique cultural heritage that make us who we are. Unfiltered Liming is edited and produced by Unfiltered Liming.